Alright, welcome back to a brand new video. If you guys are new to this channel, make sure to check out all our other videos as well. We have tons of content that's completely free for you guys that can help you guys in your education for trading, so make sure to check it out. And also, real quick before I dive into what we're going to be talking about in this video, I want to quickly mention that if you guys are looking for a community to join of traders that have a lot of experience, check the link in our description down below for the Nets Trades website, where you can find our Discord group. We have tons of traders that have 2, 3, 4, even 5 years of experience that are there willing to help you. They're always active and super helpful. They'll answer any questions you have, and I think it's honestly the best way to learn as a trader, because you're able to trade side by side with professionals that have been doing this for years and years, and they have track records to back them up. So if you guys are interested, check that link down in the description down below. But anyways, let's get right into the video. All right, so in today's video, I want to talk about how to identify distribution, which basically means people selling positions and getting ready for a downwards move, which is what we kind of saw today on the overall markets. And you can see that from the way that we made a lower high from our most recent high here, hitting highs of 4204 on SPX. And we're going to go into smaller time frames to show you guys exactly how it looks. But very quickly, I'm just going to give my opinions on where I think we're headed here from the move we made today on Monday, the last day of the month, actually. And we've been getting some pretty interesting price action the past couple of days. We've made a pretty significant move off the bottom now. I think it hit like around 9%, or close to 10% at one point. Yeah, at the very highs, we moved 10.31% off the bottom in just a couple of days. So that's a really significant bounce. And you can already see a lot of people saying, oh, is this the bottom? But honestly, we don't really care too much about that. Calling the bottom is going to be extremely difficult, but as traders, we don't really need to concern ourselves with that kind of stuff. We just take it day by day and trade what we're seeing right on the charts and what it's giving us. So whether this is the bottom or not, nobody knows. If I had to place a bet, I would say probably not, in my opinion, but my opinion doesn't really matter, and we don't really care about that too much right now, because we're still pretty far. Like, if we were to make a move down, there's still 7%. So there has to be a lot more information given before we can tell whether this is going to be the bottom or not. So until we get back to these levels, we don't really care about that right now. But what we do care about is the fact that we did make a 10% bounce, and that's pretty significant. The last time we saw a move like this, it was in March, and it was very similar. I think it was like 11%, 12.09% off the bottom. So very similar, but it did happen over more days. This one was a lot faster, or at least majority of the move was these two candles right here, which I guess is kind of similar to this one. These two candles were a big chunk of the move, but I mean, it also lasted like a couple weeks. And I'm sure you guys remember this move. It was a pretty notable move, but I think we're seeing a similar kind of like topping action as we saw here. So I think, in my opinion, this could be the short-term top for this move. And the reason why I think that is because of the action we saw today. And I think it shows distribution. So the first thing I want you guys to pay attention to is the volume. So on this move down, even though it was a very significant move and it happened very quickly, the volume wasn't as significant. You can see that volume pretty much dropped off very hard, and it stayed low for the whole entire move up. So that shows you that it didn't have a lot of participants. It wasn't like everybody got in on this move and we're ready to just rip off to new all-time highs. Like that's definitely not the case. The volume was significantly low, and if you compare that to the move we got in March, it's kind of similar. We had elevated volume, and then once the move up started, the volume dropped off, and it kind of stayed like that until we started moving back down. The volume definitely lowered down when we were making this move up, which is kind of similar to what we saw here until today. Today we saw an uptick in volume, but a lot of that was towards the downside. And if we get a closer look here, the two key levels right now of resistance that we have to look out for are 4170, and obviously the psychological level 4200, which we weren't able to hold above in the overnight futures market. Now, the reason this 4170 is key is because of all this price action in the past year. And this goes back all the way to February, I think. Yeah, February, we were at these levels. So all this price action here, this is very important. Okay, so let me get rid of some of these lines here. So the reason I drew this box here is because this is known as a key zone, right? So, and you can also call this like an inflection zone or a supply and demand zone. So the reason why this zone is important is because we've seen a lot of uh, price action in this zone, and it's been a key zone where price tends to find an inflection point, which basically means it got there moving in one direction, and then when it got there, it switched direction. So the first time it reached the zone, it acted as a support. So at this point, it was a demand zone. And then we saw it again 3 more times here, where it bounced off the zone. And then even here, it tried to bounce off here again, but it wasn't as strong because the more times you get into a zone, you weaken it, because obviously if you had people looking to buy down here, that number decreases the more you get to that zone because buyers start running out, right? You weaken the zone, and we can see here, eventually we kind of broke down below it, but it wasn't enough to like just completely break us down, you know? Buyers eventually came back in and brought us back up, but they weren't able to sustain it again. So then we did make a more significant move down. And now we're getting back into the zone, but this time we're coming from below and we're going up. So we're trying to break above this zone. But now it's kind of flipped to where over here it was acting as a demand zone. Now over here it's going to be a supply zone. So all the people that were buying here, they're now able to sell here for basically break even. And we've already seen that in the price action that we were struggling in this area, right? Especially considering the fact that we got here so fast and with such low volume, it's going to be very difficult to get past the zone. And I really don't think we have it in us to get past the zone unless volume starts coming in and we start breaking some of these resistances, which the 2 resistances that I mentioned that are key at the moment is 4170 and 4200. If we can start breaking those and we start seeing some volume coming in, then I'd be more confident that we can maybe see us retest this resistance over here, 4,300, and then once we get there, we can be looking even higher. But until we break 4170 and 4,200 convincingly, I think this could be the short-term top, especially after what we saw today. So let's start getting into smaller time frames. But the reason I'm highlighting 4170, let's make this a different color. Actually, yellow's kind of ugly. Let's make it blue. All right. It's because similar to what I talked about in the inflection points, it kind of acted as an inflection point with the price action we've been seeing. So here it kind of acted as a resistance, but eventually it broke over it, so then it acted as support, and then it made a move higher, came back down, retested it. Again, it bounced off it, support, came back off it, kind of support, kind of just choppy action here. Then it broke below, and once it broke below, now it's resistance. So do you see how previous support turns into resistance? That's kind of my thesis with this this whole zone here. And then we made lower, we came back, retested it, and now we're struggling to break over it. So then we come here to market open, 630 right here. This is the opening candle. We make an initial push down, and I played this with puts thinking that, you know, that was it. We're going to break down. We're going to come retest 4,100, but 4,100 actually held. We saw some buyers come in, and they brought it all the way back up to this 4,170 zone. But again, they failed once again. And if you zoom in even closer, you can see signs in the price action that we were getting weaker. So over here, I was pretty bearish, and then we got a little bounce, which I actually shorted again because I thought it was going to do like an H pattern where you see a little temporary bounce and then you make lower lows, which it kind of did happen, but we didn't get no follow through. So then I cut my short position on the screen candle, and then we actually broke this high right here, which was pretty key. So then I was like, okay, so bulls are kind of stronger than I anticipated. And then they kind of held this. It was a bit choppy, but we were moving higher to higher prices, and then we started coming back down, but we didn't make no lower low or anything, so still healthy action for the bulls. And then we made this pretty significant and strong move here. Again, volume wasn't anything special, but we were moving higher, and we actually got a new high of day here. So I was like, okay, this is actually interesting. And then we came back down here, and we kind of like retested the previous high, and we held it. We moved higher, and we made a new high of day, but we weren't getting much continuation, which is kind of similar to this. When you start seeing levels break, but they're not really getting much continuation, that's a worrying sign for whatever direction you're moving in. So here, the fact that we made a new low, but then immediately retraced back, that's a bad sign for the bears. Here, we made a new high, but it was kind of choppy and we weren't getting any continuation. If this made a new high and then came back up here and then retested higher, that's healthy action. That's what you want to see. But the fact that we didn't get much continuation, that's kind of starting to worry you. So then we came back lower. The only good sign was that we didn't make a lower low here. So the fact that we held this, that's like, okay, maybe we can retest it. And then, it was lunchtime. Maybe that's the reason why we couldn't push through it. But maybe in power hour, we can. So then we came back up and we made a new high. And this time it was a little bit more promising. We got this big candle here on the break, which is typically what you want to see. But again, once it got to the harder resistance at 4170, it struggled again. And then you got these candles here, which really indicate distribution because again, you're getting new highs, but you're not really getting much continuation. And you're getting these sudden big candles that drop. Like, do you see how we struggle to move back up, and then all of a sudden with one candle you give back half of the move or more than half of the move that you just made, that you just spent like 30 minutes making, and then in one candle you just drop it all. When you start seeing candles like that, that gives you signs of that they're distributing and that the bull move isn't very strong. And you kind of see that again here. We made a new high. We're struggling though. We have 3 candles to make this move up, and then one candle you give it all up. And then again, it happens again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 green candles get taken out by one candle right away. So at this point here, you're kind of validating this as a supply zone. You're trying to see these big candles reject off here. So that was a very bad sign. And then we came back lower, and then the selling really accelerated. And then once we did break this low, you got an even bigger push down. So at this point, it's going to be very hard for the bulls to break above 4170 because they've rejected it so many times and so aggressively at this point. So unless we break back over 4170, I think this is a short-term top, like I've mentioned already. And we did see this bounce happen, which it kind of tricked me a little bit because I'm like, okay, so we just made this big move down and then they want to buy it back up, but again, it struggled to break above this zone here. That just tells me that they weren't able to sell their full position up here and they wanted to sell a little bit more. So they brought it up just enough so they can unload more of their position up here. And then they brought it back down again with big rejection candles. So, and we ended closing the day pretty weak down here. So I would say, again, unless we break above 4170, I don't have much confidence in us seeing higher prices in the short term. And in terms of a short-term price target for the downside, I would say we could be headed back to a retest of 4,000. That would be where I think we're likely headed. And that's also where you kind of see this point of control here, where we've seen a lot of price action, the highest volume traded. So I think that's realistically where we could be headed. The first zone of support that we have is this area here at 4123.5 and this short-term bottom here. But if we start breaking that, I think we should definitely see a retest of 4,000, and then from there we'll see our next price targets. All right, but that's going to wrap up the end of the video. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. If you did, you were able to learn something from this video, or you just want to show your support, make sure to leave a like on the video. Helps out the channel out a lot. And like I mentioned before, make sure to check out all our other videos as well. We have tons and tons of videos for you guys to study up on and all that good stuff. But anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video. It's been me, Zero, and I'm out. Peace.